The office was buzzing with the usual mid-morning chatter, but Sarah couldn't focus. Her eyes darted to the clock on her desk for the 10th time in as many minutes. She had been waiting for this moment all morning, the moment when she could finally confront him. Her heart pounded in her chest, each beat echoing loudly in her ears. She glanced at the door one last time before standing up, her chair scraping loudly against the hardwood floor. "Hey, Sarah," Lisa called from across the room, concern etched into her features. "You okay? You look like you've seen a ghost." Sarah forced a weak smile, shaking her head. "No, I'm fine. Just something I need to take care of." Lisa nodded, her brow furrowing ever so slightly before she turned back to her computer. Sarah took a deep breath and made her way to the elevator, her heels clicking sharply against the polished tiles. The tension in her shoulders eased slightly as the metal doors slid closed, and she leaned back against the cool wall inside, closing her eyes momentarily. Her destination was the executive suite on the top floor. It wasn't the first time she had ventured up there, but today felt different. There was an urgency that kept driving her forward, pushing aside any lingering doubts or fears. The elevator dinged softly as it reached its destination, and the doors opened onto a carpeted hallway lined with tasteful artwork and potted plants. Sarah's steps were deliberate as she walked down the hall, her gaze fixed on the solid oak door at the end. A discreet plaque beside it read, "David Thompson, CEO." She hesitated for only a brief second before knocking firmly. There was a muffled response from within, followed by the sound of footsteps approaching. The door creaked open to reveal David, impeccably dressed in a tailored suit. His expression softened when he saw her, but there was a flicker of something else, unease, perhaps, that quickly masked itself behind a practiced smile. "Sarah, what brings you up here?" he asked, stepping aside to let her in. She entered without saying a word, her eyes sweeping over the spacious office. The walls were adorned with certificates and awards, testaments to his success, but none of it mattered now. All that mattered lay hidden beneath layers of deceit and betrayal. David closed the door behind her and gestured to the plush armchair by the window. "Have a seat. What's on your mind?" Sarah remained standing, arms crossed tightly over her chest, her eyes locked onto his, burning with a mix of anger and determination. "We need to talk, David." He raised an eyebrow, amusement dancing in his blue eyes. "All right. About what?" Her voice trembled slightly as she spoke, every word honed with precision. "I know about your little affair." David's casual demeanor faltered, his smile evaporating like dew under the sun. He swallowed hard, taking a step back as if physically struck. "What are you talking about?" Sarah's lips curled into a bitter smile. "Don't play dumb. I found out everything. How you've been sneaking around with Emily. How you married her just last month." His mouth opened and closed several times before he managed to form words. "How did you find out?" She laughed, a hollow sound devoid of joy. "Does it matter? The truth came out, and now we have to deal with it." David ran a hand through his hair, visibly struggling to regain his composure. "Look, Sarah, things got complicated. I never meant for this to happen. Anne, save it," she snapped, cutting him off. "I don't want to hear any more lies. I'm done playing mistress to a cheating husband. This is over." His eyes widened in shock, pleading evident in their depths. "Please, Sarah, just give me a chance to explain." She shook her head vehemently. "No, You squandered that right when you chose her over us. Now get out of my house and stay away from me." With those final words, she turned on her heel and marched toward the door, leaving David standing there, dumbfounded. As the door clicked shut behind her, she allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. He didn't deserve any more of her time or energy. Back downstairs, Sarah passed Emily's desk on her way out. Noting the young woman's curious glance, Emily had always looked at her with a mixture of pity and superiority, smug in her victory, but no longer. Today marked the end of that charade. As she exited the building, Sarah spotted a man waiting nearby, leaning casually against the wall. He straightened up as she approached, a sympathetic smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. "Are you all right, Sarah?" he asked gently. She nodded, offering a grateful smile. "Yeah, thanks for being here, Mark. I appreciate it." Mark stepped closer, placing a comforting hand on her shoulder. "If you ever need someone to talk to." Sarah's gaze lingered on his face, finding solace in his sincerity. They had shared moments of camaraderie at work, but this gesture felt different, warmer somehow. Before she could fully process the implications, her phone buzzed in her pocket. Snatching it up, she saw a text from Lisa, "Call me ASAP." A knot formed in her stomach. Whatever this call entailed, it meant another hurdle to overcome. With a sigh, she unlocked her phone and dialed Lisa's number, looking up to meet Mark's reassuring eyes once more. Sarah marched through the office, her heels clicking sharply against the polished floor. Her heart pounded in her chest, each beat echoing the anger and betrayal she felt. The fluorescent lights overhead seemed to mock her, casting harsh shadows that twisted the familiar workspace into a hostile environment. She could feel the eyes of her colleagues on her, their whispers buzzing like a swarm of angry bees. She reached Emily's desk, her knuckles white around the strap of her handbag. Emily looked up, her face paling as she recognized the fury in Sarah's eyes. The young employee's fingers trembled as she dropped the pen she had been using, the metal tip clattering softly against the desk. "Emily," Sarah's voice was low, almost a growl, "we need to talk." Emily swallowed hard, her throat constricting with fear. "Sarah, I can explain." "No." Sarah cut her off, stepping closer until they were nearly nose to nose. "There's nothing to explain. You knew he was married. You knew what you were doing was wrong." Emily's eyes flickered with a mix of shame and defiance. I didn't mean for it to happen this way. It just happened." "Just happened?" Sarah's voice rose, drawing the attention of nearby coworkers. "You slept with him, Emily. You destroyed my marriage." Emily flinched, but before she could respond, Mark stepped between them, his presence a buffer against the escalating tension. "Sarah, maybe we should go somewhere private?" Sarah glared at him, her breath coming in short, angry bursts. "Stay out of this, Mark." Mark held up his hands in a placating gesture. "I know you're upset, but this isn't helping anyone. Let's just—" "No," Sarah snapped, shaking off his attempt to calm her. "This is between me and her." Emily's lower lip quivered, her resolve crumbling under Sarah's relentless assault. "I'm sorry, Sarah. I never wanted to hurt you." "Sorry?" Sarah sneered. "That's all you have to say? Sorry?" Before anyone could react, Sarah lunged forward, her hand connecting with Emily's cheek in a sharp slap. The sound echoed through the office, a stark contrast to the stunned silence that followed. Emily gasped, her hand flying to her stinging face, tears welling in her eyes. "How do you like that? Huh?" Sarah demanded, her voice trembling with rage. "How does it feel to have someone strike back at you?" Emily whimpered, her body trembling as she tried to shrink away from Sarah's wrath. "Please, Sarah, don't." "Don't what?" Sarah spat, her eyes blazing with fury. "Don't fight back? Don't defend myself? You think you can just waltz in here and take everything I built, everything I loved?" Mark intervened again, placing a firm hand on Sarah's shoulder. "Sarah, enough. This isn't going to solve anything." Sarah whirled on him, her eyes narrowing. "And you, Mark, what are you even doing here? Are you sleeping with her too?" Mark recoiled, his face flushing with indignation. "Of course not. I'm trying to keep you from making things worse." "Worse?" Sarah laughed bitterly. "My life is already ruined. What more could there be?" Emily sobbed quietly, her shoulders shaking. "I didn't want this, Sarah. I swear." Sarah's gaze softened slightly, the raw pain in Emily's voice cutting through her anger. "Then why did you do it?" Emily looked up, her eyes red and puffy. I thought I loved him, but now I see how much I've hurt you, and I hate myself for it." Sarah took a deep breath, her shoulders sagging as some of the fight left her. "Love? You call that love?" Emily nodded, her voice barely above a whisper. "I know it doesn't excuse what I did, but I thought." "You thought wrong," Sarah said coldly. "Love isn't about hurting others. It's about caring for them, protecting them." Emily bit her lip, fresh tears spilling down her cheeks. "I understand that now. I want to make things right." Sarah stared at her for a long moment, her anger slowly melting into something else, regret, maybe, or just exhaustion. Make things right? How? Emily hesitated, then took a tentative step forward. I don't know yet, but I want to try. For both of us." Sarah's expression hardened again. "For both of us? What about David? Where does he fit in this mess?" Emily's face crumpled. "I don't know. I don't want him anymore. Not like this." Sarah's eyes narrowed. "So you're just going to walk away? Leave him high and dry?" Emily shook her head vigorously. "No, I want to fix this. I want to help you get through this." Sarah stared at her, the weight of the situation settling heavily on her shoulders. "Help me? After everything you've done?"